So our next session is a power-packed one on resolving the TV ratings tangle once and for all. And what else we could ask for when we bring together the BARC India chairman, former member of BARC Board of Directors, head of two of India's leading news networks, senior executive of one of the India's oldest homegrown groups, and add a seasoned industry analyst to the mix. Sparks are bound to fly. For this, I would like to welcome our session chair, first of all, who is the co-founder and chairman of RD&X Network. Along with him, would like to welcome Mr. Shashi Sinha, Chief Executive Officer, IPG Mediabrands India. He's also the chairperson of BARC India. Along with him, we have Mr. Avinash Pandey, who is the Chief Executive Officer, ABP Network. And with this, he is also the president of NBDA. We have Mr. Rajiv Dubey, who is the head of media, Dabur. We have Mr. Chakraborthy, Chief Business Officer, Zee Media Corporations, and Mr. Karan Taurani, Senior Vice President, Elara Capital. Now, over to you, Mr. Ashish.
It is my pleasure to be chairing such an illustrious panel that we have. And I'm sure the next few minutes are going to be very exciting and very insightful on perhaps what is one of the most interesting and one of the most talked about topics in our industry. Before we get on to the discussion, I'd just like to give my points of view. I think the topic that resolving the TV ratings tangle once and for all is in itself probably not that appropriate, because I don't really think there is a tangle. Just stepping back maybe a few years or now perhaps a few decades ago, there was a huge tangle. The industry, which was a very fast growing industry in television, which is so important, was being traded on a currency on which people didn't have faith. Then, just to recall all the industry constituents came together and BARC was formed, which was a joint effort by the entire industry. It didn't belong to any one player. Both the broadcasters, the advertisers, as well as the advertising agencies, and of course the authorities got together, and that's when BARC was formed. It's fair to say that it's had a tremendous impact on the Indian advertising industry, particularly the television and broadcasting industry, and hopefully now going forward on the digital front as well. But equally, I think it's pertinent to note that there have been some issues. There have, as it always happens, there have been some very big success areas, and there have been some areas where BARC has, by some players, found to be a little wanting. And I think there is no better panel than what we have today to throw more light on this. And I would like to keep the focus more positive rather than focus on what the problems are, if any. I think see the overall picture, see what an impact that BARC has made, and obviously what are the areas of improvement and how can we carry each other forward. And I would like to start with a person who I call as the Bhishma Pitama of our industry, Mr. Shashi Sinha. Besides various other hats that he wears, he's also the BARC chairman. And more importantly, he has been associated, in my view, with BARC before its inception, almost from day one or before, in his capacity in the technical committee, and now, of course, as the chairman of BARC. So, Shashi, I would like to hand it over to you and actually kick it off with your point of view on this. My personal opinion is that BARC has really done well and has been underappreciated in many areas. But equally, there have been several areas, some of which were very much in the public eye, which has brought it, I would say, infamy. And we haven't really been able to carry all the constituents along with us as we possibly should have and could have. What are your views on this, and where do you see areas where we can make some more improvement and come together as an industry so that the ecosystem thrives better?
Thanks, Ashish. So to get going quickly so that others can also chip in, so there are issues. I mean, I'll not come to them, but first, before I come to the issues, let's build on what you said about BARC. The interesting thing is, and I deal with a lot of global people in research, it is seen as one of the finest bodies and research for a country like India to set up, 2 lakh plus homes and 45,000, and the way it's structured, the body structure, the technology used, even till about 3 years back in US, which is a very evolved market, maybe 4 years back, they were still doing a lot of the markets in diary. the metering was not there, So I think there are a lot of things which are there. There are some unique challenges to India. It's a very heterogeneous market. Their behavior changes, and therefore to capture that heterogeneity requires effort. I will speak about some of the efforts we're making in just a few minutes. But so therefore, it's a heterogeneous market. There is homogeneity in certain kind of viewing, like the Hindi viewing, but there is a certain amount of heterogeneity which we're not capturing. Then India, as you know, is one of the largest markets for television broadcasting, as Avinash and Joy will tell you, with more than 800 plus channels, and it's very fragmented. So that fragmentation also comes into research. While that fragmentation comes into media buying, it comes into research. So error levels, crop up. BARC was designed for a particular error level. When it was set up, I still remember at All India, 30% plus at 95% confidence error levels for genres. But today, from the broadcast side, from the agency side and the client side, everyone does a lot of slicing and dicing of numbers, which leads to lack of stability. And then, unfortunately, the ecosystem is such that, a lot of European markets or US, you don't find interference. We find a fair degree of interference here in these markets. So it's a sum total of various factors. I think one of the way forwards which we're looking at, of course, technology is put in place, and it's not an easy solve. So before I say it, I must qualify. There are many implications of that. One way of scaling it up is RPD. We are working. The government has created a committee to work on RPD, and they have put out a guideline, and now they will probably build on that. RPD ensures large sample, but it's not a complete solution. There will be many complications. So I think if you look at television ratings as broad indicators, they're in the right direction. If you start slicing and dicing and you start looking at detailed data in a particular way, obviously you can go wrong, because the error levels are so high. Anyone who understands statistics will understand certain genres, then within genres, there's 50, 60 channels. So net, not because I'm involved with it, but for so many years, but I generally believe there are many things going for BARC, the technology, the system in place is an industry body. So, as they say in Hindi, sunwai hoti hai, internationally, so some of the broadcasters, they used to what happens in US or some of the other markets, it's, finally controlled by a few set of people. So being an industry body always allows scrutiny. It also has its downsides. So this is I think, opening. I don't want to go into detail, but this is the opening which I'd give, and then we'll build on what we're happy to listen to suggestions from anyone who comes in. People know, especially Avinash and Joy know that I'm very open to, till the time I'm there, to open to hear to anyone. I had a long chat with Avinash 7 days back. So I'm absolutely, whatever improvements can be made, I'm most welcome.
Thanks, Shashi, for those opening remarks. And Rajiv, I'm going to come to you last because it's always only fair that the client has the last word. So you'll have to bear with me patiently for a while. But Shashi, since you mentioned Avinash, I'd like to go across to you, Avinash. You are probably one of the most balanced people in the industry, particularly in the broadcast industry, and you've had a great career spanning various aspects, and therefore, you bring the voice of sanity. You're now also leading one of the news associations in that sense. Now, I have a specific question to you. Any system is only as good as its participants want it to be. And one of the big criticisms that BARC has had over the years, in fact, even the previous rating TAM also had over the years, were that some of the constituents were deliberately sabotaging, maybe the wrong word, but were trying to bypass the system or find ways to go around the system in various ways. What can we do to prevent that? Because one of my biggest fears is that whatever Shashi and his team and all of you, the broadcasters, do to put into it, if people are hell-bent to make a system not work, it won't work. What is your point of view? And, since you're an experienced person with practical knowledge on this, what can be done to prevent that going forward? You're on mute. Avinash, you're on mute. You'll have to start again.
Thank you, Ashish, for saying such good things about me. But one of the things that I would like to correct you is that it is not one of the news body. It's the news body and the largest news body in the country and probably in the world, okay, with number of audience and number of channels that we do.
I stand corrected.
Having said that, some of the point of view that I'm going to express would be my personal and some from the viewpoint from the our body, which is NBDA. First of all, I firmly believe that you always have a well-behaving neighbor if your fences are strong, right? The rules, regulations, and laws, and the delivery of those rules, regulations, and laws actually deliver you the desired behavior from the member or the constituents that you cater to. So if we have made rules, for example, that you will not publish data in the public domain unless it's a 2-week average and it has to have a clear-cut TG and all that. Despite that, there are multiple channels which are rotating their logo as #1 in the country, which is further confusing the audience as well as their probably own employees, whether what ranking the channel has, However, despite having such a rule, BARC does not act against those channels. As far as the manipulation goes, people look at the ways and means to get the market share in their domain, and which is, I always say that, look, people will try their method in which they can actually bypass the regular system and can get the rating. Shashi had mentioned it to me that in particular language, in a particular region, some 5-6 channels were involved in malpractices. He did not name the channel to me, but he says that if this is the way people are addressing their own rating issues, and it is an industry body, what is going to happen? The third point that I want to make to you is that look, globally there is a doubt and there is a quarrel in the way the rating is measured and released. Even in the United States, you may have noticed about 30% of the deal that most GEC did today was outside the Nielsen rating. What we need to do, certainly, the BARC has to act tough on people who violate the norm or try to get the data which is not natural. One of the things that industry is coping up with is the role of money. And particularly, I'll talk from the news business. You can promote a channel by buying marketing activities, but you cannot convert that into a rating domain by those marketing activities. And BARC needs to very carefully cut out those data which are largely meant to promote marketing activities from the actual rating. And unless that does not happen, I don't think so. It's only a problem of a news channels. It's a problem on democracy. If a particular channel or if a particular news only is visible to people, more importantly than that, I think as a broadcast body, including Indian Broadcasting Federation, there is a problem. Because if people have come to a particular channel, particular TV delivery DPO channel, and they want to watch, let's say, sports or GEC, but they're forced to watch a particular news channel or a particular GEC channel because they're all involved in buying landing pages. I think it's a disservice to the consumer, disservice to the country, and disservice to our own brands, which we are marketing amongst the consumers. So I think BARC, as the custodian of releasing what India is watching, needs to control on that. Also, the last point that I'll make is that it is in our interest that we make BARC more robust than what it is today, and hence the new establishment study, carefully understanding where people are consuming. I have data in front of me, which is the BCG report of 2021, which says that the per hour consumption on television has grown from 3.6 hours to 4.5 hours. 3 hours is on the linear TV and 1 hour is on the OTT. Now, unless we push that combined measurement as to where people are watching, Google has come out with all the data that about a huge number of people are watching today live TV on YouTube. These data are actually not getting measured properly in a combined environment, and thus it's a loss to all of us, to the advertiser, to the advertising agency, and more to the content creators like us.
Thanks, Avinash. Karan, you are probably analyzing and advising your clients where to invest, where not to invest. And I think some of that in the broadcast field, at least, would be based upon BARC ratings, because obviously that sort of influences what's the future earning potential in some ways of channels and so on. When you hear all these kind of discussions and issues, some of which question the very fundamentals of the currency in that sense, How do you view this? Do you see this as a problem, or do you see this as some internal bickering? What's your, and do you realize the value of a study as vast and wide and as widely accepted as BARC? What is your view as an analyst?
Thank you, Ashish, sir. So basically, if you look at this scenario, whatever happened in terms of controversies within BARC, I think this definitely had a very big negative impact as far as news genre is concerned. A lot of the valuation of the news company saw a crash overnight because of this factor which was there. So that's something which is there. But I think BARC as a measurement medium is also, if you see, the one of the best measure. So let's look at the other forms of medium wherein an investor wants to really park money, right? Print media, radio media, they do also have forms of measurement, but none of them are even close to what BARC does in terms of the quality of work and the detailing that they have. So definitely BARC is one of the most respectable forms of currency that we have in TV today. Many of the broadcaster companies themselves, kind of align to it, and even the investors kind of, do track this data on a very regular basis. And, that's how they value most of these companies, because this is like a mirror basically in terms of how you are gaining market share, what are your growth rates, and eventually that is going to have an impact on your valuations, be it positive or negative. So as I said, definitely it's one of the most respected platforms that we have in the country today. But my own personal belief is that I think there is a lot of potential for innovation. I think if you look at the number of boxes, we are somewhere close to, I think, 50,000 boxes. And there is a guidance that this number could go to 1 lakh or maybe beyond that. But, with this entire digital consumption coming in, there is a big scope for innovation. As Avinash sir also pointed out that clearly, if you look at the measurement system, we really are not measuring the consumption which is happening on digital. Now, let's take the instance of a company like a TV today. Okay, I mean, they've got, Aaj Tak, which is there. They've got their own, viewership mechanism, own YouTube pages. They do make money from YouTube in terms of digital, but eventually in terms of the advertiser is unable to know that, what is the exact reach on TV and digital both put together. So if they're able to, get that to the customer in terms of what is my exact reach on TV and digital both put together, they can have a very, higher realization in terms of the advertising monetization, what they have. And I think, BARC, lastly, BARC controversies, all those sort of things which came in, news genre got banned. I think they had a more severe impact for the smaller news channels, because if you look at the larger news channels, definitely BARC is one of the go-to measurement mechanisms. But the larger channels, whether it be news or GEC or whatever it is, they already have very strong recall. So it does not impact them as such in a very big way. But if you look at the smaller channels in every genre, they get a very big pinch, once the data is not shared or once the data is not available. So the point is that, the winners really have an edge here. I think this mechanism is more, to support the lower end of the band, which is there, the smaller channels within various genres.
Thanks, Karan. Joy, over to you. You've been in the news in the recent past for what I would say certainly a noticeable, I'm not sure a very conducive decision from the industry point of view, at least, of not participating in BARC. Now, I have two questions to you on this. One is that as an industry body, is that the best thing? That, it's like when you were playing gully cricket, mera bat hai, meri jab marzi mein nikal jaunga, that kind of a thing. If you're not happy and if you're a part of the system and you're not happy with it, you've got to try to improve the system, or is the solution that you walk out of it? And two, some groups, without specifically naming them, are picking and choosing. So some of the genres, they will say that I will take BARC ratings. Some of the genres will say I will not take BARC ratings. Can we allow this to become an a la carte of a menu, or are we committed to these ratings as an industry, or like Avinash said, what India watches, and obviously improving? And there is no doubt that there are areas of improvement. And I think everybody, including the BARC CEO, the BARC chairman, the BARC board, I've been on the BARC board, so I can tell you, everybody realizes that there are areas of improvement. But I mean, is this in the best interest of the industry? And obviously, you must have thought a lot about it before you took the step. So would be very keen to have your point of view. And after Rajiv, would be good if Shashi can then probably pick up on that point as well.
Hi, everybody. I think before I start, just wanted to say that we all were initially, until now, we thought that we are all content companies. Okay. I think we all thought producing best content is the best way forward. But I've seen in my 30 years that content is king, no doubt, but distribution is kingdom. So I think we all have realized that how important distribution plays. So BARC is the measurement of distribution. I think that's the one point that we need to be clear about that. See, the recent move that Z Group, Z means the media group, that is the news group took against BARC was, it is not, we are not withdrawn from BARC. I think that's where the clarity needs to be put forward. We have suspended BARC rating. Our BARC is measuring our ratings. We have asked them not to release it until we get our queries answered. And I think that currently the watermarks are still on. Everything is not still on. See, we all believe in BARC. I think my other company chair, what you call CEO, and was one of the pioneers or the person who was instrumental in setting up BARC. I think I would say Puneet Goenka. So we as an organization believe in it, but we had some queries. I think I have just joined August 1st. And all this decision got taken much before that we will once upon a time move out. And I was the catalyst, maybe. I was the catalyst who acted on that. Okay, if you see, previously also, before joining this place, I was running two small networks. One of them was Movies of Genre Network, and one of them was GC Network. You won't believe how soon we became number one. We beat established players like Star Plus, Colors, Z, Sony, Automatic, Star Gold, Z Cinema, and all. Just pure understanding of distribution, where to put money, what to do, what not to do. So I think the question that I keep telling everybody is, are we into content creation or are we distribution companies? I think today, the way things are going, before we hire salespeople, we hire distribution people now here. So I think we are slowly shifting our goalpost towards from being a content companies or content to getting into distribution platforms. I think how to handle the platform. I think the issues that we had was landing page. I think that's where the disconnect happens between us and everybody, is that people may say that landing pages is a marketing tool. I personally feel it is not a marketing tool. Marketing means you're making somebody aware of something, you know where to get it and how to get it. You don't force things down their throat here. In landing pages is an issue where people are forcing things down people's throat. You just can't move away. There's no landing page 1, landing page 2, no landing page 3. Let me give you a classic example. I, as a person, keep traveling across the market. I'm not sitting in office. I'm always in the field. I was in UP. What the cable operators have been told now is very simple. Switch off and switch on the channel, what you call TV set, by what you call autocorrect or whatever it is, 10 to 15 times a day. So you automatically go on the landing pages 10 to 15 times a day. So this doesn't happen in metros. This doesn't happen in Bombay, Delhi, or Calcutta, or Bangalore, whatever it is. This happens in Bihar, UP, and all, where cable operators switch off and switch on the boxes 15 times a day. So 15 times you're going back to the landing pages automatically. So that gives you multiple numbers, and that it's only showing on the spikes that people have. So I think as a group, we are led by a maverick. My publisher is the most well-known face in this industry, and he's the pioneer of it. And we believe in principles of measurement, and so that's the reason the call was taken. Yeah, that's the reason the call got taken, and I think we also have other people, other friends in this genre who would like to participate. If not today, they'll participate tomorrow. Yeah.
Thanks, Joy. I'm sure BARC will have another point of view to this, but we'll come back to that later. Rajiv, coming to you as a client. Now, you're the one whose money is actually being used for, everybody else has a point of view, but it is your money that they have a point of view on. And ISA has repeatedly made it clear, both publicly as well as to me personally, whether it's your president, Sunil Kataria, or anybody, that we want measurement. And obviously, because you're putting lakhs and crores of rupees on each channel, and you certainly want to know how is your money working. So for you, how important are BARC ratings? Obviously, you look at other things besides just ratings, but what is the relative importance of it? And how do you see all these issues around BARC, and what is the client's point of view as to what can we do to get around these?
Yeah. So, first of all, the whole BARC system was founded by all of us put together, So TV channels, agencies, clients, right? And everybody was party to it. And Z network was propagators of getting a new system, and the time was there. They used to say that we need to have our own system, and it was Z network and led by Puneet Goenka, who was the founder chairman of BARC. It continued for a while, and Puneet was chairman of BARC, if I'm not wrong, till very recent time, right? And then he switched over, and he not the chairman of BARC anymore. And certainly the ratings started looking bad for Joy. I mean, that's his point of view, his company's point of view. Obviously, if you're not number one, you don't like it, and which is what happens in every industry. If I'm not number one, I would not like that. It's a very uncomfortable position to be in. Avinash is here. Avinash has been in the top channels, top 3 channels. He's also not liking being not number 1, not number 2, not number 3, right? So this whole thing has been started by what? 2 things, okay? It's not only people going to the landing pages and somebody trying to switch on, switch off the TV channels 15 times in a day. Those numbers are very, very small. People who do this, the smaller MSOs numbers are much smaller than the rest of the country. The rest of the country, 40 million of BARC, about 67 million of the DTH. The big MSOs, they don't carry the news channels. They don't. They have only the GCs playing as a landing pages. So barring these 3 big players, there are very few numbers which are left, which can switch on and switch off and have a swing towards the viewership. Now that takes us to the overall viewership numbers. If you look at the TV viewership numbers, our battle today as a TV industry is not amongst ourselves. Our battle is with, say, people who are not watching TV at all, people who are switched off from TV, who are watching TV on some other format like YouTube or something else. And apart from these 2 things, what is happening is that total, if you look at the viewership of TV, news channels especially, that's been shrinking at a high of, say, 20% just about 2.5 years back, at the time when the pandemic began. Till now, it has shrunk to about 3.8%. And all the 32 Hindi news channels share this 3.8% viewership share. And within this, if you have to fight, somebody is trying to put, say, landing pages, somebody trying to do something. Obviously, somebody who's there on the landing pages is the one who's winner right now, and somebody who's is not spending money behind distribution is not. And similarly, these same networks, they use landing pages to their advantage wherever it suits them, and they don't use landing pages wherever it doesn't suit them, right? And so basically, landing pages is trying to trigger some kind of viewership change. That's what is coming clear now. So in my view, first of all, the landing pages should be called out that whichever channel is using a landing page, it should be declared, saying that this viewership difference is going to the landing page. That's one thing. Secondly, as ISA, it's very difficult to say that which channel, the channel which is not getting measured, should you take that channel or not? So we are all listed companies. We are answerable to our shareholders. We cannot put money behind a channel which is not measured. There's nothing personal between one company versus the other, but something which gets measured will always be preferred by the advertisers. Although thing is that there's no dearth of advertisers today. There's no dearth of money coming into the market today, and everybody is able to sell 10-minute, 12-minute plus in an hour. So the difference is not felt much. And plus, if you look at the results of most of the FMCG companies, people have reduced advertising, and all the new advertisers have gone away. So there's a dearth of advertiser in terms of people putting money right now. So these things are there, but when it's like equal level playing field and everybody is there advertising, I think it will make a difference. If the point of view being that everybody should participate in the BARC system. It is a fairly robust system. At I would say levels of household, about 40,000 households are covered, which translates to approximately 200,000 individuals, Shashi, if I'm not wrong, which are covered on a daily basis, every second basis. such a huge rating system is devised by all of us put together. Let's see. I mean, let's live with the system. If there are any issues, let's address those issues and carry on. As an advertiser, I would like to go with somebody who's getting measured versus somebody who's not getting measured. That's in short what I'd like to say.
Thank you, Rajiv. Very wise comments, and thank you for that direction. Shashi, over to you. You've clearly got a thumbs up from the clients as far as BARC is concerned, and that's heartening. But at the same time, you've heard quite a few discontentments, I would say, both from Joy and somewhat from Avinash as well. How would you like to respond to this?
May I respond? So I think first I'll pick up Rajiv's point. Rajiv, thanks a lot. I think, one of the key concerns we have at this point in time, what Rajiv alluded to, I mean, I'm not talking whatever he said, good things that were understood. I'm not going to build on that. But I think Rajiv made a very pertinent question which no one else in the panel made, and shows a true advertiser that total TV ratings are dropping by 20%. And believe me, and I'm saying this publicly, first 1 month when I took over in April as the chairman, my first energy was on the news guys. They took me around a merry dance, which I will respond to just on the landing page. I'll come to that. But very quickly I shifted here to total TV. And I think that's a big thing. What we obviously don't want to artificially increase total TV, but I spent a lot of energy with Nakul and the team trying to figure out what's happening to total TV. As you very correctly said, 20% drop is not healthy. And there are many hypotheses. Some of them from our side, we're course correcting. You'll see that the way data was being captured. But some is the viewing habit is changing. And I think Karan alluded to this, and Rajiv also spoke about it. That there is today TV content is being viewed in different formats, and the faster we get to measuring, various formats, be it OTT or something else, it'll be good for the ecosystem, because everyone wants, there'll be monetization of the broadcaster, and the advertiser will know. I mean, whether it's connected TV or whether it's OTT or whatever it is. So I think we're making steps in that direction. Let me say one thing to suffice it to say is the public broadcast, so I will say carefully. But sir, you have been on the board and you understand this well. BARC has a strength as an industry body. That's a strength and its weakness. So IBF controls 60%, agency 20%, advertisers 20%. Any decision, I can assure you, is not a technology decision. So the decision to measure OTT, the decision to measure digital is not a technology. The technology is available. If you remember, sir, when you're on the board, we have spent 10 crores appointing a vendor, giving them money. It was a stakeholder management issue. So finally, it's all about stakeholders agreeing for measurement, because they see ghosts where ghosts don't exist. The previous CEO had worked out with news channels, okay, let's start with news only for digital measurement, and the news guys had blocked it. And I'm saying it candidly because, maybe some of the news guys don't know, maybe they don't want to say it. So at every stage, it's not about technology, it's about stakeholders, their fears and their goals, which comes. That's the first one. But Rajiv, that's a wonderful point that we must measure. I will take that up, that how do we ensure that we get everything aligned. Now, there are two specific call-outs. While there's a lot being said, but I will talk the landing page issue. And I'll tell you the history of the landing page, and that's very interesting. I think Avinash knows, maybe Joy does not know, but I'm clarifying for your audience. You see, when landing page algorithm came into place, and I say this, I said it from a public forum, it's been reported, but I'll say it once again. And I was that time involved with the TechCom, the BARC team and the BARC Oversight Committee. By then, sir, we had formed the Oversight Committee. Both them had recommended that we knock off. By the way, well, I appreciate the news associations, but finally on the BARC constituencies, IBF comes in as a body. They're the ones. So they all the associations dovetail into IBF. So when I think it was 2 or 3 years back when the algorithm was presented, and what BARC had suggested was that we knock off the entire period of the landing page. So we don't knock off whatever we're knocking on just now, whatever algorithm we are using. So for example, if someone is watching IPL, he comes out of the IPL because of landing page, the entire thing gets knocked off. Correct? Which is what the news broadcasters like Avinash probably want. Probably, I'm saying probably, I don't know whether it's right. So, but that the IBF members of the TechCom that time had resisted very strongly. So they themselves, IBF had said, no, this is not acceptable because this is a marketing tool. Now, I have said, there was a joint meeting which was held, and I said to the IBF president, I said, you guys tell us. IBF is called to say, and then this complex algorithm was created, which believe me is very, very complex, as you know. Nakul and Praveen created this algorithm. It's a very fine algorithm. It's won a lot of awards globally. So the principle of BARC doing something, I mean, it's a stakeholder body. The principal stakeholder of just 60% who represent the broadcast saying, no, you must allow landing pages. And there's a big discussion. I won't go into details who the people. And then the ISMM also supported saying, we are in the end of it, the recipient of what viewership is, how it comes doesn't matter to us. So, and fortunately I was there. So I said this, IBF has to turn around and say, we knock off landing page, we don't knock off landing page, is just called and it's being revived. I mean, Avinash knows, we've been speaking about it. If it's a call to be made by IBF, it'll be easier for BARC to do it. There are many pulls and pressures. The point I'm making is not a technology issue, it's not an intent issue, it's a stakeholder issue. The final point I can't resist, Joy is my friend. I walk with him every morning. I see him walking with him. I have very high regard for Subhash Chandra. But if Joy says he's got out of the thing for landing pages, tell me another one. We all know, who are knowledgeable, that there was co-location problems which they had. Their ratings were crashed by 70%. As you say, we are seeing the numbers. So it's very easy to become holier than thou, landing page and all that has become. Tomorrow, Joy, I can assure you, if landing page we remove fully, Z is not going to come back in a hurry for the reason which you know and I know. So, I mean, at least if I say something, I'll be man enough to say, listen, I have my problem, I'm getting out of it. I will not beat up BARC and say, listen, you guys are not taking care of landing page, which is they are getting off. So be man enough to say, yes, you're a Fauji. So you should be man enough to say, yes, you know, this is our problem. So, this is, I hope I've given a fair answer.
You have given it exactly like as you always do, just exactly how you feel it, whether someone likes it or not. And I appreciate that very much. Avinash was putting up his hand, you know, in a typical newsroom style thing. I'm now starting to feel like a news anchor. So, but Avinash, I'm going to ask, I'm coming to you and I'm asking you to respond to that.
I have to answer these two gentlemen also. They said something.
Yes. I'm giving you that opportunity. I'm the moderator. You have to allow me to speak. The whole nation wants to know what I have to say. So I have to tell you that I think the big point, there is a big point that both Rajiv and Shashi have alluded to. And after you finished responding to what the others have said and made a point, what shouldn't the broadcasters all also be coming together and seeing that how do we uplift television as a medium rather than be fighting against each other all the time saying, I'm number one. And in the end, and that's particularly so with the news channel, in the end, may I submit, not even fooling anybody, because I think like Joy or you also said that everybody is wise enough to know that you can't have 12 number ones, right? You can cut and slice any data, anything to show any bit. So should the focus of news broadcasters particularly change to let's come together, let's agree on a common minimum program, and let's at least work on upliftment of the genre rather than just pulling ourselves down? So over to you for the response as well as the answer to this question.
Okay, so first of all, look, this is my agenda as an NBDA president to make sure that the news, the two things should happen. A, news should become relevant in a way so that more and more consumer can come and watch it at different platforms in all kind of devices at any given point of the day, wherever they are. A lot of things are happening in the 5G space, in the technology space, which will enable people to consume content. Today, if you look at it, one show is watched by X on television live, multiplied by multiple X on the VODs on different platforms. So the way news is getting consumed today, unfortunately, BARC is not able to measure whatever Shashi is saying, that industry issues and all that, etc., stakeholder management. And he's right, there is a stakeholder management issue. But my question is this, that look, from the industry side, we are trying to put everybody together saying that, look, what is our minimum common agenda that should drive the industry? The fact is that if the news is no more interesting, people will not watch it. So how to make news more interesting? Having said that, it is also very difficult to assume that in the Morbi, when so many people died and people were glued onto a TV to watch as to what exactly happened in the country, and we say that only 5% or 7% people in the country were interested in that, this is something this is something we are not able to believe. Also, irrespective of the ranking and the rating, which Rajiv actually alluded to, that, you know, I'm not now anymore in top 3, but let me tell you, I run 6 news channels. Only in one I am not in top 3, rest in all I am top 3. Even then, and the last time also, my member channels who have protested against the reflection of the true reflection of the number is not because they are number 4 or 5, because they were number 1 and 2 only. The issue is this, that look, what is the difference? Why there is so much of noise coming out of the news genre itself? And that, I think, irrespective of our issue on what we are raising noise on, but stop the record. We must admit that there is an issue. And I'll tell you why those issues crops up. Which broadcaster, other than the news genre, has got an employee in every district of India? We all have. We get ground feedback. We talk to politicians who deal with millions of voters every month, get feedback from them as to what people are watching content. Now, I'll tell you what is the deception happening here, is that the people are watching more and more content while watching on television X, they're watching multiple X on digital media. And unless that issue we resolve collectively, news will not be able to get its due share. And it is very liberating for news genre to actually get the measurement on digital, because right now we are all, what Joy also pointed out, we are caged in the structure of the distribution in the DPOs and the digital and the D2H homes. The moment it is liberated and it is free, people are watching content on their own devices everywhere, and that gets measured. I think news will start getting the due share, and I think that's the direction that we should quickly move on. If there are issues with the stakeholder, I am saying, look, BARC also has a social responsibility. We are not in a business just for money and to pleasing a few guys who are sitting in the TechCom or this one. The biggest issue, Ashish, today, and I want to call it out, that people are sitting in the industry body and they are trying to protect their own business interest of the company. That's absolutely wrong. What the landing page issue that he's mentioning about, Shashi is mentioning about, that particular channel was involved in a landing page at that time. So what BARC has to call out is that because it has a responsibility towards the industry and society, I am saying that what BARC should do is release a white paper as to, look, this is what I want to do. This is in the interest of the country and measurement science. Following members are okay, following members are not okay. It's up to us to go back to those members and convince them that it's better for us.
Thank you.
It's like a typical saying that, one day they came for a trade unionist. I did not protest because I was not a trade unionist. They came for a socialist. I did not protest because I was not socialist. And they came for me when no one was left, right? So finally, it's a circle. It will come to you. Today you have money you can spend on landing pages, marketing activity, this, that. Tomorrow you'll not have. BARC should come out with a white paper saying that, look, this is what is happening and we must correct it as an industry.
Thank you, Avinash. I think there's some very valuable inputs that have come in. What I'd like to do is to end this with every panelist giving 1 or maximum 2 suggestions, which perhaps then Shashi can carry back as the chairman of BARC as well as to his board. And let's positivize it. I think the one thing different about our industry in general versus all other industries is that we do come well together when we need to. Let's positivize the last few minutes of this discussion. And let's give some constructive suggestions, feedbacks, areas of improvement, whatever you like. If all of you, I'll be coming to you one by one, can just give 1 or 2 valuable suggestions which Shashi can take back and improve on it. And Joy, maybe I'll start with you. If you were to not walk out, but rather participate in improving the industry, what are the 1 or 2 suggestions that you would like BARC to take on board?
I think what Avinash mentioned was actually sums it up what exactly I would have told. I think for us is that capturing the news audience in various forms, in various modes is most important. It's just not television. See, today out of home viewing of news is very, 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 very high. Like if you go to any, news is the best medium for B2B. B2B capturing, you can't do anything other than news. So the out of home viewership of news is not getting captured the way it is today. See, today I may have walked out of BARC at this point of time. I'm using YouTube to sell because in YouTube I am the topmost ranked news channel. So I'm using that as a currency right now. But yes, it is not easy. Yeah, like category Rajiv mentioned that there are a lot of clients, especially corporate clients, who are currently saying that we will not participate with Z because they don't have rating. But there are so many other clients who are coming to us and supporting us. So I would suggest that the way Shashi could take it forward is that measurement of news in a different way compared where we also capture TV plus non-TV measurement in terms of out of home what do you call viewership and all of news. I think that's the thing that we require. I think because news has credibility, and we, like Avinash said, we have got employees everywhere in the country. Yeah, everywhere. A minister looks
Got
at
it.
us. Hello.
No, got it, Joy. So basically, you're saying that news is very important and it should be measured beyond just TV, maybe out of home or whatever, and improve measuring that. Got it. Thanks for that. Karan, over to you. I mean, news is probably, somebody said 3.5%, somebody said 8%, but it's a relatively small part of the entire pie. It's certainly in single digits, right? On that sense. I'm now pulling away from news. I'm looking at BARC ratings as a bigger picture. What are the things that you think can be done to further improve it? And or what are the good things that they're doing, which you think should be continued or more of it should be done?
So I think firstly, the good thing they're doing is, the granularity of the data, breaking up, as per the geographies. That is one thing which they're doing genre-wise. A lot of the demographics are also mentioned, basically the time slot in terms of where the consumption is happening. So I think that's one very good thing they're doing. In terms of improvisation, I think 3-4 things, if I can mention. Firstly, in terms of some granularity, in terms of the age consumption, I know it would be very tough, but some sort of a thing there, that will give a better leverage, for the advertiser in terms of who is the target audience. Second, I think need of the hour is, to increase the sample size. I think, 40,000, 50,000 numbers, these are too small. At a time, where digital, you're in a digital era right now, you've got Googles and all the platforms of the world who are sharing much amount of data as compared to what, TV audiences. So if one were to really kind of say that, TV can, maintain this share or probably become larger in terms of share, I think sample, needs to, really go up. And third, of course, is, I mean, as he said clearly, as Shashi pointed out that, stakeholders have a eventual say here. But, broadcaster OTT platforms are really lagging today. If you look at the numbers, in terms of MAU, DAU, all those metrics which are there, it is either the aggregators, like YouTube, or it is, the larger global giants who are there. Probably like someone who has got AVOD platform like an MX player for that matter, but broadcaster based platforms, clearly excluding sports, I'm not talking about Disney Hotstar here, but other broadcasting platforms are really lagging here. So some sort of a measurement system that can come from the broadcaster end, so that they can have a better say in terms of the overall digital advertising industry. Because if you look at the digital advertising industry, firstly, it is dominated, with the likes of social media. It is only the video segment wherein the broadcasters can have a say. And even within the video advertising segment, broadcasters are too small in terms of overall pie. So something that can be done from BARC's end to really kind of evolve, revamp the entire system on the broadcast OTT side.
Thank you, Karan. Very valuable suggestions. Rajiv, over to you, both as a client as well as representative, only a representative of ISA on this panel. A few quick suggestions, please.
Yeah. So, I think, one is that the news channels are going through something called as Kapil Sharma syndrome, So what happens is that if you go to people and ask them which is the show which they watch, okay? If you do a survey, independent survey, everybody will say that they watch Kapil Sharma as the top priority, topmost program which they watch. Where do they watch it? They definitely don't watch it on TV, right? Some of them watch it on TV, 0.67% people watch it on TV. The rest of them all watch it on mobile in form of reels or in some YouTube video or something like that. The same thing is happening to news channels as well, right? So although it's there top of the mind for everybody, people watch news, and if you go and do a survey as an independent person, people say this, yes, I watched say Z News or ABP News or Aaj Tak. These three channels always come on the top because of the reason that the consumption of news is happening, but it's not happening on TV, which is measured by BARC currently. So one is that the currency of BARC measurement, I think that has to cover other aspects of news viewership as well. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Second, Joy, nothing personal. I didn't say that not watching Z. It was about the channels which are not participating in BARC, which includes other news channels as well, right? And yes, YouTube, Z and Aaj Tak are the top preferred choices right now, and one is looking at that as well. Third is that calling out of the channels which are trying to get inorganic views, the channels which wouldn't have been sampled otherwise. those channels getting sampled because of the landing pages. So it's like a marketing tool in a way. I mean, if you look at it from those point of view, it's like a marketing tool, but doesn't give you a very level playing field, So probably what we need is a level playing field so that, everything being equal, what is the viewership of a channel that should be measured. I think today this controversies are rising because there's no level playing field. So these are 3 points.
Thank you, Rajiv. Avinash, you can make only 2 points of suggestion, but the third point I would like you to specifically say, and now get out of your news channel and news leader role and take an IBF role. You mentioned a very important point of stakeholder management, and I can feel Shashi's pain, and I've been through this both on the BARC board as well as on the other industry bodies. It is really, really difficult to manage stakeholders, particularly so in this case, the broadcasters, because if I have to say brass tacks, bulk of the issues emanate for and from the broadcasters in that sense. What can Shashi do to manage stakeholders, specifically the broadcasters, better in your view?
Well, you have put me in a spot. Okay.
Normally news channels do that. This time we got a chance to do that back.
Avinash, just to remind you, this is being recorded.
Yeah, I know. See, I am anyway infamous for saying things which one should not say in public, so I don't mind, being in that space. शशि जी को एडवाइस देना वैसे ही है जैसे सूर्य को रास्ता दिखाना है, so मैं क्या एडवाइस दूंगा? He knows everything. However, I'll make quickly 3-4 points. See, there are overarching issue that BARC is not able to capture today the way India is watching. Let's accept that first. Unless we don't accept that problem statement is not framed properly, we won't be able to solve it. Rajiv has pointed out that people are watching everywhere, but people are watching everywhere. That's the content that I am making, right? Joy is making. Everybody is making those content. Is being watched by someone. It's not getting measured. Advertising money is going for loss, and it's a loss making proposition for everyone. So I think BARC should overhaul its system and organize the stakeholder to agree to it. The first point that as an individual broadcaster, and so many broadcasters feel like that, it's not an NBDA consensus opinion as of now, but this is an opinion that all the landing pages data should be removed and reported, saying that, look, this is the viewership coming with the landing page, this is coming without the landing page, irrespective of the channel. The more importantly, the industry issues, couple of things that we must do is that we, for the news genre at least, we must revert back to the old system, which was what is you were getting what you ran yesterday. Because in the current system, we don't know, it is not working for making content. We don't know whether the content worked or not. We even to sell advertising space to the clients and agencies, we are not able to justify as to this is the particular week rating. And whenever the spike comes, the rating is up, and so you should pay a higher price. News is an event-based company. The third one that I would say that BARC must release the raw level data to all its members, and it was even requested many times in writing. I think it should be done as soon as possible. Coming to your last point, which you said how to manage the stakeholder. Look, in all business, this is a very complex structured industry. Everybody has its own interest, and our incentives are not always aligned with each other, right? So there would be conflict. How we can minimize that conflict is that at the end of the day, if we are not able to measure well what India is watching, everyone is at loss. BARC gets its money not as a fee, it is a levy. They get money on the money that we bill, right? So if our billing goes down, BARC revenue goes down. And BARC, I can tell you, I've served on the IBF board, I know the work, how the BARC cost structures are. It would be unsustainable for BARC if the industry revenue goes down. So it is very important that all stakeholders should sit in a room and understand that it is in our interest to measure correctly what India is watching, without any coercion, fear, or favor. I'm carefully using these 3 words. If we do that, I think it's a win-win situation for everyone. And any broadcaster who does not agree, probably his or her head is in the sand, who does not see that coming.
Thanks, Avinash. Just to add on and clarify one more point. Yes, BARC does get all its, a large part of its money through what you're calling as the levy, but also agencies pay as a fee. So it's not that there isn't a fee, and it is a significant part of their profits. But leaving that aside, but very valuable suggestions. Shashi sir, आप सूर्य हो, आपको चिराग नहीं दिखा सकते, अविनाश ने clearly बोल दिया है. But there are some valuable suggestions that have come into this. Yours is a very hard job, and I know that because managing stakeholders is a very, very difficult task in this construct as it is there. But if there's one person the whole industry believes that can do it, certainly I believe, forget anybody who can do it, it is you. You know that you have all our support. You know, on an individual level, Avinash or Joy or anybody may say anything to you, but I think the whole industry believes in you and in Nakul. I think it's the first time we have a scenario where there is complete vote of confidence as individuals, both not only in the chairman, but also in the CEO on that. But still, there is a lot to do. There are clearly areas which need significant improvement. What are going to be your top 2 or 3 priorities that are both going to change BARC as well as change this perception, which unfortunately over the last 2 or 3 years has, and we have to agree, has got built with all the inquiries and all the, you know, the public mess that happened.
So
what are
so I'll say 2 or 3
connected,
things. Let me respond to some of the comments Avinash made. It's not fair for me to go public without talking about stakeholders, but we are very close to sorting some of those issues which he raised. Yeah, we started with the small issues. So coincidentally, the BARC board meeting today. So some of those issues I agree with, and we are working with them. But if you ask me, the 2 big challenges which we have to fix is what Rajiv called out, is the total TV. How do we capture total viewership? How do we ensure that what Avinash said, what India watches, Puneet Goenka's line, that what India watches, and which Rajiv said, total TV is dropping, only linear TV is dropping. So that is the first thing. If we sort that out, and we're taking many, many initiatives in that direction. So that I'm confident that we will get our act together. The second thing is easier said than done on this panel, but the stakeholder management or digital measurement is not easy. Today Avinash and Joy are saying that news channels need to be measured. But when we had discussed this in news channels, and I personally discussed with a lot of key people, owners, managing directors of news channels, they've reluctant again because not for wrong reasons, but the bots will come in, all kinds of measurement comes in, then there's artificial interference which happens. So I think some of the challenges, I mean, if I may tell a story, the people who registered, and Ashish, you know this, and unfortunately I'm upfront, the people who registered digital measurement 4 years back, when we were all ready and we lost that 10, 12 crores or whatever, went on to head the 2 biggest digital companies in this country and were pestering me saying, why don't we do digital measurement now? So it's, I mean, as Avinash very correctly said, stakeholders have to rise above their personal agenda rather than looking at this thing. So anyway, I'm sorry, but with that I have to end, but thank you very much for the input. And Avinash knows that he and me are working on something else on the landing page, so we come back more on that.
Thank you everybody for a wonderful and a very informative channel. And I'd like to thank Karan, Joy, Rajiv, Avinash, and of course Shashi for all the participation in this fantastic panel that has happened. And with this, over to ScreenXX and AdGully.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much all of you for this extremely thoughtful conversation.